All right, welcome back to JTC Report. As usual, big news day these days. This morning we finally got the official 14-point agreement of the memorandum of understanding was officially released. Per my last video, we've heard talks about a peace deal coming out over the past week or so, and there's been a lot of skepticism about what's going to be in this deal. A lot of talking heads going back and forth on what they think, whose side it's going to be more in favor of. You had a lot of opinions flying around, but now we finally have the deal. The administration was a little bit squirrely about the details up until this point. It looks like it was officially released, I believe, by the president of Iran, the actual 14-point agreement, but no denials of the legitimacy of it from our side of the aisle. So let's take a look. We're going to just go one by one through the 14 points. I'm going to read each one in full and then kind of just give my analysis on what I think about it. And I've already went through this a couple times, so I definitely have some thoughts, but we'll start from the top here. So, point one, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran and their allies in the current war, by signing this MOU, declare the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including in Lebanon. That's a big sticking point. And undertake from now on not to initiate any war or any other military operation against each other, and to refrain from the threat or use of force against each other, and ensuring the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Lebanon. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, including in Lebanon, third time they're mentioning it, and other provisions of this paragraph. So, interesting part about this being the first point, and one of the longest points, mentioning Lebanon, I think 3 or 4 times just in that paragraph there, and that is an obvious call out to the constant Israeli attacks into Lebanon. That's been a sticking point for Iran during this whole negotiation. Is one of their hard lines is we have to restrain, and by we I mean the United States has to restrain Israel's action in Lebanon. So very interesting to see that as point one, mentioning that right off the bat. It was clear that that was one of the big asks from Iran to get this MOU off the ground and get it signed. So yeah, that's going to be the big next step. Is Trump has to restrain Netanyahu, and we're going to find out. I know up to this point Trump really hasn't done enough to keep Israel from their incursions into Lebanon. So we're going to see. And we're going to see if this MOU kind of changes the calculation for the administration. Let's get to number two. And number two, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran undertake to respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and to refrain from interfering in each other's internal affairs. Pretty broad, pretty vague, that one. Just, hey, you mind your own business, we mind our own business, and don't interfere. Pretty straightforward. Nothing really controversial about that one. We'll skip over that. Number three, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran commit to negotiating and achieving the final deal in maximum 60 days, extendable with mutual consent. So that's kind of just telling you what a memorandum of understanding is. It's basically a agreement to have an agreement, a deal to make a deal. So this document, it's a good first step, but it's not anything set in stone. So that final agreement is going to be maximum of 60 days away, unless it's extended with mutual consent, like it says there. So let's keep on moving. Number four, immediately upon signing of this MOU, the U.S. will begin the removal of its naval blockade and any disturbances or impediments against the Islamic Republic of Iran, and will fully end the naval blockade within 30 days. During this period, the traffic of vessels will be in proportion to the numbers of pre-war traffic being restored by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran within 30 days after the final deal. So this is kind of a two-parter point. It talks about the blockade. Of course, Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, and then to kind of combat that, Trump decides to do the U.S.'s own blockade to keep them from getting any money from their oil shipments. So double blockaded. That looks like that's going to get resolved out of the U.S. blockade. But the more interesting part about this one is the last sentence. The United States of America further undertakes to remove its forces from the proximity of the Islamic Republic of Iran. What does that mean? Does that mean bases in the other Gulf countries? Does it mean Iraq? It's hard to know exactly what that means, but who knows? Maybe we'll get more specifics within the next 60 days as that gets kind of hammered out. But it'll be interesting to see if this disaster of a war actually gets our forces out of the Middle East. I don't think we need to be there as much as we are, so I'll take that. Let's keep it going. Upon the signing of this MOU, the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements using its best efforts for the safe passage of commercial vessels with no charge for 60 days only from the Persian Gulf to the Sea of Oman and vice versa. The traffic of commercial vessels will immediately start, and considering the need for removal, the technical and military obstacles in demining by the Islamic Republic of Iran will be instated within 30 days. The Islamic Republic of Iran will conduct dialogue with the Sultanate of Oman to define the future administration and maritime services administrator Hormuz in discussion with other Persian Gulf states in line with the applicable international law and the sovereign rights of coastal states of the Strait of Hormuz. Also, very, very important point there. So it seems that there's going to be some agreement that Iran's going to have control along with Oman over the Strait of Hormuz activity, which, I mean, let's be honest, before the war, it was a totally free and open strait. And if there's any toll, fee, whatever they want to call it, instituted by Iran, this is just a loss for the U.S. The fact that Iran's going to be in a stronger financial situation after this war than before. So yeah, I'll be interested to see what details they hammer out through these next 60 days about the agreement with the Strait of Hormuz, because that's going to be devastating if Iran still has control and is making money off of it when they weren't before the war. Anyway, next point. The United States of America undertakes with regional partners to develop a definitive, mutually agreed plan with at least USD $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The mechanism for the implementation of this plan will be finalized as part of the final deal within 60 days. So, $300 billion for reconstruction and economic development. I believe Obama's JCPOA was $150 billion. I could be wrong about that, but about half, let's call it, of $300 billion. And all I heard is Donald Trump and a lot of the Republican Party say, hey, pallets of cash got sent over to Iran under Obama. That was horrible. We can't let them have the money. At $300 billion. And again, a lot of this is going to be unfrozen assets. The claim from J.D. Vance and President Trump is that this won't be U.S. tax dollars. It'll be their own money being unfrozen. The money will come from the Gulf states. But either way, $300 billion straight to Iran, whether it's reconstruction or economic development. Still, again, it's another point that is obviously in the favor of Iran, not the U.S. So, yeah, I mean, you could see this MOU so far is really, most W's are going to Iran as of now. But let's keep going. The United States of America undertakes to terminate all types of sanctions against the Islamic Republic of Iran, including the UN Security Council resolutions, i.e., IAEA Board of Governor resolutions, and all unilateral U.S. sanctions, primary and secondary, in an agreed-upon schedule as part of the final deal. The Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America acknowledge the critical importance of the sanctions termination issue above mentioned and expressed their intention to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. Again, another win. All sanctions being removed. I mean, it's going to really unleash the Iranian economy if they're able to sell their petrochemicals and oil all over the world with none of this backdoor dealing that has to happen because of our sanctions. Again, so far, everything is empowering Iran. It's pretty one-sided. It's amazing to read this. I always said this war was a disaster, but if you would have said this would be the outcome so far, I don't think anybody would have agreed to go to war. All right, let's keep going. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of stockpile enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, with the minimum methodology to be downblending on site under the supervision of the IAEA. The two parties also agreed to discuss the issue of enrichment and other mutually agreed matters related to the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear needs, based on satisfactory framework being agreed upon in the final deal. The final deal will confirm the provisions of this paragraph. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran acknowledge the critical importance of the nuclear issues above mentioned and express their intention to immediately address these issues in the negotiations in order to achieve mutual agreement on them. It seemed like pretty repetitive, that paragraph. So essentially, the main reason that this war kicked off, according to Trump, was to get rid of the Iranian nuclear weapons ambition. Now, without getting into the conversation on were they actually pursuing nuclear weapons, without criticizing, didn't we use the B-2 bombers last year to take out the facilities already? Whatever. It would be good to have another deal in writing, since Trump tore up the JCPOA, to have a reaffirmation that they're not going to go for nuclear weapons. So, all right, that's a positive in favor of the U.S. position, I guess. Next one, pending the final deal, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree to maintain the status quo. The Islamic Republic of Iran will maintain the current status quo of its nuclear program, and the United States of America will not impose any distinctions and will not deploy additional forces in the region. I have no idea what that one means. The status quo, are they talking about the status quo right now? Are they talking about the status quo in 60 days? Or are they talking about the status quo before the war? We'll see. I'm sure that one will get hammered out in these next 60 days. We will circle back on that one. So let's keep going. The United States of America undertakes that immediately upon the signing of this MOU and until the termination of sanctions, U.S. Department of Treasury will issue waivers for the export of Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, and derivatives, and all associated services, including banking transactions, insurances, transportation, etc. So as of now, until the sanctions are removed, the U.S. does have the ability to issue waivers, so countries can buy sanctioned products from Iran. So it looks like until everything is hammered out, we will be issuing those sanctions for Iran to be able to release their products to buyers without running into any sanctions issues. Next one, the United States of America undertakes to make fully available for use the frozen or restricted funds and assets of the Islamic Republic of Iran upon the implementation of this MOU. The U.S. and Islamic Republic of Iran will mutually agree on the procedures related to the release of these funds during the negotiations. Such funds, whether retained in the original account or transferred, shall be made fully usable for payment to any ultimate beneficiary designated by the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The United States of America undertakes to issue all necessary licenses and authorizations accordingly. So this is once again talking about the frozen funds. So we also saw this after the Ukraine war kicked off. Basically, every country has a reserve of US dollars. It is the world reserve currency. Every country is good to have their own basically supply of US dollars to be able to make trades. And oil is traded in the US dollar for now. So we found out after the Ukraine war, and of course with the Iran situation, the US government can just take people's US dollars wherever it is. We can just basically reach in and say, you can't use this money. Really reckless, because it incentivizes the world to move away from the US dollar as the reserve currency if we can just snag it if an administration thinks a country is doing something naughty. So maybe this would be a good thing in terms of giving the confidence of the world again to maintain the US dollar as the reserve currency. We'll see. I think it's reckless when we were able to just basically steal US dollars from countries. Yeah. Anyway, so that could be good for basically everything. If that is made available to them again, we kind of release their money back to them. Because again, that's their money. They traded for those US dollars, and whatever you think about Iran, we should give it back to them. All right, moving on. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran agree that an executive mechanism will be established to monitor the successful implementation of this MOU and the future compliance of the final deal. I don't know if that's a typo. Anyway, so this is basically just monitoring. It seems like they're going to have some sort of third party or multiple parties monitoring this deal to make sure everyone's holding up to it. Also, a pretty vague point. I'm sure they'll work that out in the 60 days as well. So almost done. After signing this MOU and subject to the beginning of the implementation of paragraphs 1, 4, 5, 10, and 11 of this MOU and the continuing implementation of these measures, the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran will start negotiations regarding the final deal exclusively on the other paragraphs. So that's, I think, just saying that they're going to work out the specifics for some of those more vague paragraphs over the 60 days. And yeah, that's about it. Final point. The final deal will be endorsed by a binding United Nations Security Council resolution. So Security Council is going to have to also vote on it in the UN, which is good to make it a legitimate deal. We kind of need that legitimacy and from other the powerful nations within the UN. So that's the deal so far. Of course, this is very subject to change over the next 60 days with some of the specifics, and this is not a done deal. Again, Israel's the wild card here. Trump is going to have to restrain them with some force, and if not, they can easily blow this up. They strike Lebanon, they strike Iran. Iran will return fire, as they've proven the will to do already. So yeah, it's shaky. I mean, it's a great first step of getting this disaster behind us. But I will say this deal overall, I don't think you can be an objective observer and say that this is a victory for the United States. This looks like a surrender document. Most of these points are beneficial to Iran. And I'm rooting for the United States. I don't want to say we lost, but this deal makes it look like we lost this war. Iran is going to be more powerful if these deals get put into place, right? If every one of these points is met, Iran will be more powerful than they were before the war. That's all you need to know. You can't call that a win. We waged war on a country. They end up more powerful afterward. That's not a victory. And a lot of people think that the reason this deal wasn't advertised as much, they didn't release the text, is because they knew people would see this. And how did we get to this point? There's a few different analysis that I saw. I think a big one was companies, big business and industry were making calls to Trump that this oil crisis was going to destroy the world economy and a lot of wealth was going to be wiped out. So that's obviously a big one. I think the Strait of Hormuz being blocked off was the biggest culprit in getting these favorable terms for Iran. But what else? I also think we were way lower on munitions than any of us know. Our missile interceptors, are running critically low. We know that. We don't know how low, but we know that even the government admitted we were running low on interceptors. And I think most of our munitions, Tomahawk missiles, things like that, were also running dry. And I think it's not being talked about because they don't want to expose our military weakness. But I think the situation was a lot worse than any of us can know internally. Weapons running dry, money running dry, and I think Trump was incentivized to do anything to get a deal right now. And he said a couple quotes when he was at the G7, kind of admitting to some of this, talking about the oil crisis, talking about that this is unpopular around the world. So, yeah, a lot of thoughts. I'll keep monitoring the situation as always, and of course, as updates come out, I'll keep posting about it. But yeah, this is an interesting document. It'll be really, really interesting to see what happens in 60 days, how different this looks. But yeah, as of right now, Iran's going to end up a powerhouse after this war, and all we can do is hope to have good relations, hope to keep Israel from messing up the deal by making attacks in Lebanon, and hope Iran holds up their end of the bargain as well. You know, I think that it is good to prevent them from having a nuclear weapon. So we're going to see. I'll be here. I'll keep monitoring it. You definitely know where to find me. And as usual, stay out there, stay safe, and keep in touch. Thank you.